So today we're going to be formatting our text first to start. So we use the semi-auto flow without adding new pages. And what we did was hold down the Shift and Option keys and then clicked in the top left corner of our margins, and that loaded all of our text into our document. So what we had to do was go down to our last page on our cover and then delete that text frame, and also delete the text frame for our colophon page. So once we do that, now what we're going to do is decide on which fonts that we want to use for our body copy. So remember that I gave you a list of Opentype font sets that you can choose from the assignment section, and the Opentype fonts allow you to have extended characters as far as ligatures, swatches, old style numerals, glyphs, and more. So you could choose from one of those to add to your project. So what we're going to do is choose one. We're going to set the type, and we'll save that as a paragraph style for our entire body copy. So things like typeface, weight, size, and leading, and set that. And then we're going to set our baseline grid. Okay. After we set that, we're going to snap all of our text to our baseline grid, and then we're going to adjust our frames to show up on our page appropriately. So first thing I'm going to do is decide on what the point size is for my text. So if I click 5 times inside of the text frame, it will select all of the text in my document. And what I'm going to do is go up to the character panel, and I'm going to select Adobe Garamond Pro, and I'm just going to set it all to regular right now. And I've decided to use a 9-point text over 14-point leading. Okay, so whatever your leading is, this is what you have to snap your baseline grid to. So to snap or to adjust your baseline grid, we're going to go up to the InDesign menu, go down to Preferences, and then choose Grids. From here, where it says Increment Every, we're going to change this to our leading. So I'm going to change that to 14 points. So now that it's at 14 points, I'm going to go to my control panel. I'm going to click on Paragraph Formatting. And over to the far right, I'm going to select Align to Baseline Grid. And that will then snap my text to the baseline grid. If you want to see your baseline grid, you can go up to the View menu, go down to Grids and Guides, and then choose Show Baseline Grid. Now you'll also have to zoom in for you to actually see your baseline. Now, one tip that you can do as well, because sometimes you'll find that there's a lot of spacing when you snap to your baseline grid. What I like to do is snap the first line to my baseline grid, and then it will basically flow every 14 points or increments of 14 points from there. So in the control panel flyout menu on the top right corner, I'm going to click on that with my text still highlighted. And then I'm going to go to Only Align First Line to Grid. And I'll select that. Okay, so from here now you've set your type. So we have chosen a typeface, we have chosen a point size, the leading, we've adjusted our baseline grid, and then we've snapped our text to our baseline grid. Next thing we'll do is adjust the text frames so that we place the content on each page that it belongs. And you could also adjust the heights of your text frames so that they're not interrupting your running heads or your page numbers in your folios. Okay, so next what I'll be doing is adjusting my text frames. So on this page here, I have my title page with my publishers. I also have a dedication, and then I have my half title page, and then my chapter begins. So on page 2, this is where my title page with my publication will go. So right now I'm just going to select this frame, and I don't want to remove the text from the text frame. I basically want to keep my story flowing. So I'll just move my text frame up so that it kind of cuts away the dedication. And now I have my dedication on its own page. And I can also adjust that text frame so that no other text spills over. And then adjust my half title page. And I'll probably just have like the first paragraph be introduced here. And then the rest of my story will flow. So you can see I have some of my paragraphs, they're pretty close to my running heads and my page numbers. So next what I'll do is just position my text frames on my page. So I'm going to keep in mind when I'm adjusting this to just look at my side rulers here. And I'm going to probably bring this down to about 1.5 inches. I'll bring my dedication probably somewhere in the middle. Bring my half title page down to about 18 picas right there. And same thing with my chapter, because I kind of want them to align. And then for my paragraphs, I'm going to select both the text frames, and I'm probably going to bring them down to probably around 9 picas, just to get some spacing away from the running head. And the bottom, maybe I'll just bring it up to like 42.5. So these numbers aren't really what you should be using. You can sort of like optically eyeball this based on your own text. But what I'll do is continue or remember those numbers, maybe write them down, and just adjust all of your text frames to have the exact same positioning. So now we've adjusted our text frames, positioned all of our text on the appropriate page. Next, we're going to create some paragraph styles for the basic body copy, and we'll style our running heads, our page numbers, and also create some paragraph styles for the opening paragraphs and the main paragraph. Alright, so now what we're going to do is save our main body copy paragraph style. So again, I'm going to click 5 times inside of the text frame. So it selects all my text throughout my document. So this is basically the common style for all of my text, which is going to be Adobe Garamond Pro regular. So what you could do is open up your paragraph style panel. So what you could do now is open up your paragraph style panel, and that's found under Type, Paragraph Styles. So with our text highlighted, we can click on the Create New Style. And now we're going to double click on that style and just name it Body. Okay, so this is our body copy. So it's using our typeface, our font style, our size, and our leading. And we'll click OK. So now this is our common style. And then as we make changes for things like headings, maybe semi-bold, bold, italics, our main paragraphs or first paragraph indentation, we can then create new paragraph styles for those. So the first thing I'm going to do is maybe create a paragraph style for semi-bold, right? So maybe I will first start to style my publisher page, and for me I'm just going to make this align center. I'm going to maybe use bold for this, And what I could do is either create a character style for bold, and I'll create that, and I'll just name this bold. So you can open your character style panel and your paragraph style panel. And I'll also maybe increase the size of this heading here. So remember, your headings, anything that's greater than 14 points is a heading. So I'll make that 14 points, and I will make this a heading in my paragraph style. So my headings will be bold and at 14 points. And then what I'll do here is just style some other things. So maybe I'll make this italic. So maybe semi-bold italic. And again, this should be a character style. Okay. And you just want to name your character styles and your paragraph styles appropriately so that you know what they are. Okay. And then maybe I'll make the publisher bold as well, like that. Okay. And then for my dedication, maybe I'll center that as well and make that bold. Okay, so right now my publisher and title page are styled, my dedication page, and now I'll move on to my half title page. So again, I'll select the text here. Now this is my heading. So I'll select my paragraph style for that. I could also do the same thing for chapter 1. And then this, I can make it italic. And I can also just center that. Okay. And you might find you're going to adjust your text frames as you go as well. So for me, I just want to create a little bit of space here, but we can have a space before and space after for our paragraph styles as well. So what I could do is select this paragraph. And this is my opening paragraph, so I don't want an indentation here. On all other paragraphs, you do want to include an indentation. Usually it's probably around like 1 pica. So for this one, I'm going to first style it. So I'm going to go to my paragraph settings. And at the top here, I have my space before. So I can maybe add that, maybe like 0p3. And also, I can possibly add in a space after. Right? So if you have space before, once you add another paragraph, it will automatically put that space before. So technically you might not need a space after, but we can always come back and adjust this later if we find that we need it. So again, I'm just going to adjust my text frame just to include that. Okay. And now that we've sort of set our paragraph style, so it has 9-point font on 14-point leading. This one is our opening paragraph. So under my paragraph style panel, again, I'll create a new style, double click on that, and call it opening paragraph. Okay, so here we styled now our half title page as well as our opening chapter. Now there's some things here I might want to adjust, like I might want to adjust the size of my headings. I find these are maybe too small. This is good for the title page here, but maybe I want to make these a bit bigger for my half title page and for my chapter. So what I'll do is, and again, you could always eyeball these, but for me I kind of want this a bit bigger. So I'll make that be 18. I'll do the same thing for this. And I could probably just call this one chapter titles. Now there is a line break here that I need to adjust for with this subheading, but what I want to do is make this one a bit smaller and look a bit different. So I'm going to maybe have that be 14 points, maybe even smaller. I'm going to have that 12, and maybe I'll make that be regular. And then what I'll do is add a space before as well. Since this is text, maybe I'll make it 10 points. Maybe semi-bold. I think that looks a bit better. Okay, so now this is set. My dedication page is set. My title page is set. And again, if you find that you want to go back and sort of adjust this placement, you can always do that later on. So next what we're going to do is adjust our running head styles. Right? So I need to put the book title and my chapter title in here as well. So I'm just going to copy this text. And what I'll do is go to my master page. So double click on that, hold shift, select the second page. And in my running head, I'm going to include the book title. And I'm just going to also include the chapter title. And include the subtitle in here. So I don't want this to be in all caps anymore, so I'll go to type, change case, title case, and I'll make this be italic. I'll change this to Adobe Garment Pro and have that be bold. So I'll do that for both. And then also maybe do the same thing for my page numbers. So just update the font type. Also maybe I just want it to be a bit smaller, so 10 points. And remember, you could also change the styling of your page numbers as well. So if you wanted to change that, you can go to page 1 of your story and then change the style of your book. So I can double click here, and then in my page panel I can go to the flyout menu, go to numbering and section options, and I could change this style to, let's say, lowercase numerals, and click OK, and then it will update for me on each page. So now you'll see that we have our running heads changed and updated. We also have our page numbers updated and styled. And now we can move on to including some of our Opentype features. So next what we're going to do is use some of the Opentype features. So we're going to update things like old style numerals for our numbers. dates, times. We're going to add small caps for acronyms and abbreviations. We can add ordinals here instead of actually adjusting this with our baseline shift. There's also some other things like typographers, quotes that maybe you want to watch out for, using appropriate N dashes or M dashes. So these are all features under the Opentype set. So I'll show you how to use that next. So next what we're going to do is add some of the Opentype features. So in my first paragraph, I have some numbers, some acronyms, ordinals, which are basically when you have numbers that say first, second, third, the ST, ND, RD, these are called ordinals. We're going to update these with some of our Opentype features. So first, for numbers, we want to use old style numerals. Okay, so I'll select the number here, and you'll also see like the glyph shows up, so you can actually like click on that right away. Or you can go to your flyout menu in your control panel, go to Opentype right at the top, and then go down to proportional old style, and that will do sort of the same thing. So we want to highlight the time for that and also do the same thing. So Opentype, proportional old style, same thing as the date, and the time here. Oops. Okay, so you'll notice on proportional old style, now the numbers have descenders and ascenders, so that's the difference. And next we want to add small caps for acronyms. So with small caps, you have your option up here in your control panel, right here, and the shortcut is Shift Command and the letter H. So when you want to add small caps, you actually have to type this out first in lowercase letters for it to work. And then you can highlight it, and you can click up top here for small caps, and now you'll see that it aligns right to the X height of your text. Okay, so you don't want to be using all caps for abbreviations or acronyms. Lastly, I will add the ordinal for first. So again, I'll go to my flyout menu in my control panel. I will go to Opentype, and then I'll select ordinal from there. Okay, and you'll see that it adjusts the ordinal with a baseline shift right at the cap height there. Okay, so this is what you want to do. You want to go through your text, look for anything with numbers, dates, times, put that in old style numerals. You want to look for acronyms or abbreviations, short forms, put those in small caps, not all caps. And then if you have any ordinals throughout, you want to change that as well. Okay. You could also add things like swash characters. So a swash character, you mostly would use that for a drop cap or opening a sentence or a paragraph. So let's say I wanted May to be a swash character. I'd actually have to put this first as the italic version of my text. And then I can go to the flyout menu and go to Opentype and then choose swash from here. And when I click on that, it gives me a nice sort of like different variation of the text. And now if you wanted this to be a drop cap, you could make it much larger. You could set the drop cap to take up maybe like 2 or 3 lines of the text, right? So you can adjust it however you like. So that's how you add swash characters, and also using some other Opentype features. Next, what we're going to do is set our paragraph style for our indentation, and then we'll move on to correcting hyphenation and justification errors. All right, so now what we're going to do is set our indentation paragraphs. So every paragraph following your opening one should have an indentation to begin the paragraph. We're also going to adjust the space before or space after in our paragraphs because these paragraphs are starting like right at the end of each other and they're sort of really close to one another. Let's select all of the text in the remaining document. That way it will just update everything since we've already styled our opening paragraph. And now what I'll do is go to my control panel, go to my paragraph formatting controls, and right here we have our first line indentation. So you probably want to adjust this to about 1 pica, which is equivalent to like your font size that you're using. And then we can adjust maybe the space after in this case because I want to leave the space here intact. So I'm going to adjust space after, probably the same thing, so 0p3 as my space before, and that gives me some nice room between paragraphs. Other than that, I think we're okay because we've already styled our global paragraph. So what we can do in our paragraph styles now is go down to the bottom, create a new paragraph style, and we're going to name that one, we can maybe name it paragraph indent, and then click OK. So now we can see our paragraphs where they begin, they all have indentations. Right, we're probably just going to maybe style some things here, like in my book I have like quotations. You might have pull quotes as well that you want to change. Right, so we'll update things like this. Also, if you tend to have one word at the end of a paragraph, this is what's known as a widow. We'll then go into tracking and kerning. And also, if you just have like one line on a paragraph, those are called orphans. And we could also use kerning and tracking to adjust that. So I guess what I'll do is just looking over this. This looks pretty good so far. But what I'll maybe do is style this quotation here, and I'll maybe just put that in italic since it's sort of like a letter. So again, I can just adjust this because it's not really a paragraph. So what I can do is remove that indentation on this one and on the beginning of the letter. And now I can highlight this and I can make this italic, and this time I can indent the entire paragraph. So I'm going to indent that maybe 1 pica, and I'm going to increase the space before to kind of give it some room and separate it. So this will probably be known as like my pull quote or a quotation. So in my paragraph styles, I'm going to click on a new paragraph style and name that quotations. Right, and now that stands out in the text. So now from here, I can go on and move onwards to tracking and kerning my lines and probably balancing rag lines. So when you're kerning and tracking, this usually happens when you're using justified text. But if you want to kind of avoid that, I would recommend balancing your left aligned text, which is called balancing ragged lines. And we'll do that next. Okay, so now what we're going to do is balance our left aligned text. So as you can see on the right hand side, you'll see these lines look a bit wavy in some occasions. And what we can do is get rid of those and also improve the legibility of our text. So what I'll do is select the the text starting from my first paragraph all the way down. And I'll probably go to a page where you can actually see the ragged lines, where they stand out, like maybe on this page. So to balance my ragged lines, I'm going to go up to my control panel menu. And then right down near the middle, I'm going to select balance ragged lines. And what you'll see is the ragged lines sort of get more even and less ragged. If you want this to work a little bit better, you can go to Adobe Single Line Composer as opposed to the paragraph. And what that will do is go through each line and balance it so that it doesn't take the average of the entire paragraph. So what you sort of get is like a better result here. Right? Okay, and that looks a bit better. So see here I have like an orphan. I'm going to try and fix that. So a real easy way to fix that, I could just like move my paragraph up, and that would fix that. And then here I have a widow on this page. So next I'm going to show you how to adjust and get rid of widows, which are single words on the last line of a paragraph. Orphans are single lines of copy that are separated from its paragraph. So from here, I'm going to use tracking and kerning to sort of move this word back up to its paragraph. So what I can do is select the entire paragraph by clicking 4 times. Okay, so since they run on both pages, I'll just start at the top. Click 4 times here. And what I can do is track my line so that this word gets back up into its parent line of text. So right here you have your tracking, and with this you don't want to go less or more than -20, I would say. So you'll see I just did -10. It put that word back up into its paragraph. And the words don't really look like they're crashing into each other. I'm just going to undo that. I might not need all 10. I'm going to try just one by one. I'll go -1, hit tab. That doesn't work, so I'll undo that. I'll go -2, and the tab key, still not enough. So -8 does the trick, right? So you want to see if you don't need as much as you sort of clicked on the first time. Just try to get away with the very least amount, and then you can move on from there. So this looks pretty good right now. Next thing I would do is just go through my document and just add like little subtle details, like adding type contrast, like making things bolder, adding italics where needed, adding glyphs, and styling the rest of my text for higher typographic contrast. So next what I'll do here is just sort of highlight some of the dates with some of my character styles, like bold, right? So I'm going to look through, this is in my story particularly, but it'll start with dates because the narrator is actually writing like journal entries. So I'm going to look for all of my journal entries and just make those bold. I'll look for my quotations and I make those my quotation, so it's italic. And this looks pretty good from here. So I think the only other things left to do is add in things like your graphical elements, your cover page, your back cover page once those are completed. The last thing you probably want to do is add your colophon to the last page here. So remember, this section of the document is where you're going to write out what the book is typeset in. So for me, mine's going to be in Adobe Garament Pro. So I'll just select this. I'll make this look like a chapter title. I'm also just going to change the case here. So go to Type, change case, uppercase. And what I could do is just write out the text. So this book was typeset using Adobe Garament Pro in 9-point text on 14-point leading, and then you can continue adding some history about the text. You can also add in a little bit about the type designer. Just make that be my body copy. Okay, and you just want to fill that in at the end there. I'll probably just put this down to, where I have it, like 18. It goes down on the page, so something like that. And then I can just continue writing the colophon here. And then we can add in our back cover and our front cover once those are completed. So what we did today is adjust all of our text frames to our pages, put the content on appropriate pages. We've then created our baseline grid and snapped the text to the baseline grid. We also styled our paragraphs. We used some of the Opentype features. We did some tracking and kerning to get rid of orphans and widows. So what you want to do next is start to just apply these typesetting rules to your own book. Go through paragraph styles, character styles, use appropriate Opentype features, kern and track to get rid of widows and orphans. If you're going to use justified type, go back to your notes and look over H&J violations that you've gone through in digital tech. I can also post some notes for you as well under today's lesson. Go through using proper glyph sets for N dashes, M dashes, quotations, old style numerals. You can include drop caps if you want to, or swash characters, right? So what you're going to be doing for this week is finalizing your book covers, importing that artwork into your InDesign document, finalizing your typesetting for your book, and then what you're going to do is also make mock-ups of your book as well. I've added to the tutorial link, which I started last week for you. So what you can do is find all the screenshots and step-by-step work through of how to bring in your covers, how to print your document, and also how to make the mock-ups for this. I hope you all found this video helpful. Feel free to reach out to me through email, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I'll see you all next week.